Hi, I'm Matt Gaunt, a developer advocate here at Google. And in this video, we'll catch a glimpse of an undulating monkey, have some crazy robot talk, and I even get to take a trip to Hawaii, all thanks to the latest WebView in Android. When we released KitKat, the WebView changed from being based on WebKit to being Chromium based. Initially, this was version M30 of Chrome, and the big win with this release was support for DevTools. In KitKat MR2, we updated the WebView from M30 to M33, meaning it came with all the usual security and bug fixes that you'd get in a new version of Chrome. The WebView team also worked on improving the canvas performance and added support for screencasting and DevTools. Now, with the developer preview of L, we're updating the WebView to M36 and enabling some additional web platform features. If you haven't already tried using DevTools to debug your WebViews, you need to go and add this line of code into your app right now. Calling set web contents debugging enabled to true, you'll actually enable DevTools debugging. And I admit that is quite a mouthful. You can enable this just for debug builds or for release builds. It's entirely up to you. But once you've enabled it, plug your phone into your computer with a USB cable, open up Chrome on your computer, and go to Chrome Inspect. Here you'll see entries for every single WebView inside of your app. And clicking on Inspect will open up DevTools. Now, it's worth mentioning that you should have a desktop version of Chrome equal to or newer than the WebView version. So, for the developer preview of L, you're going to need to use Chrome Beta or Chrome Canary. With DevTools open, you'll have access to DOM and the CSS inside of your WebViews. Here, you can make changes and you'll see them immediately take effect inside of your app. The JavaScript console is useful for viewing console.log messages, as well as manually executing JavaScript inside of your WebViews. Now, one crazy useful trick I realized is if you've got a JavaScript interface that you're adding into the WebView, just so that you can communicate from JavaScript to native, you can actually call those native methods directly from the DevTools console, which makes debugging this bridge logic just a tiny bit easier. The Network tab enables you to view whatever network requests are happening inside of your page. Now, this is useful for anyone who's loading a page on a remote server, so a normal URL. But it's also useful for anyone loading a static web app from the APK. Because if they're making XHR calls, you can actually view the requests and the responses as they all show up in the Network tab. And it's just a little bit easier than logging everything. Then there's the timeline. If you ever notice any jank inside of your web app, this is the place you should go to get an insight into what Chrome is spending its time doing for each frame. Generally, you want to look out for long-running tasks or tasks that are happening repeatedly and see if there's anything you can do to alleviate the issue. The last thing I wanted to mention on DevTools is screencasting. Screencasting was enabled in KitKat MR2 and above, and it allows you to interact with your web app directly from DevTools. It means that you don't need to switch from your computer to your device. You can just do everything from your computer. Now, a nice side effect of this is, let's say you have a WebView that's currently off screen and you're going to animate it in later on. You can actually use the screencasting feature to see what the WebView is rendering, even though it's not visible on the screen. I mentioned that the WebView team have been working to improve canvas performance. Here we have some stats from the Velamo benchmark suite. And you can see improvements of around 200 to 350% for these tests. Now let's take a look at some of the new web features we've enabled in L, starting with the undulating monkey I promised you at the start. In the developer preview of L, we've added support for WebGL. Here you can see a demo from Paul Lewis, and quite frankly, I love this monkey. Next up is the Web Audio. Web Audio API is an important part for any web-based game, but it also enables you to manipulate sounds, create synths, or play with the microphone input, which is why I can have a crazy robot voice. The final new web feature enabled is WebRTC. You can now use data channels for sharing data, or get user media to access the camera. All of this means I can now do things like this. Hey Sam.
Hey Matt, how's it going? You're in Hawaii?
There we go. We've looked at DevTools, seen a WebGL undulating monkey, I've got to talk like a robot, and take a green screen trip to Hawaii. For guides and additional info on the Chrome-based WebView, check out this link. Cheers.